Hey Moonies! Welcome to the Sailor Moon Fan Club podcast. I'm your host, Victoria L. Johnson. I'm here with the one and only TheWolvesDen. He's a beatmaker, and if you've been following me or him at any point in time, you will know that we actually had a podcast together called Nerds on Hip Hop that ran for 4 years. He's one of my bestest friends, and I'm so excited to have him on the show.
Hey, I'm super excited to be here and really just get to talk about your favorite thing and a thing I've come to appreciate more, which I think you'll be excited to hear about too.
I'm so excited to hear that because when we first became friends, or at least early on in our friendship, you were skeptical about Sailor Moon. I think
that's how we started, and I'll say it like this, as we probably talk about it later. It's like, I've looked at all your comments are more true now than they were a few years ago, is the way I'll say it.
I need more explanation on that for sure. But okay. I'll take it. So, for the people, what's your first memory of watching Sailor Moon?
I think my first memory of Sailor Moon is probably watching, or at least hearing about the first memory of Sailor Moon is actually the Sailor Moon video game.
Whoa.
Yeah, because, like, I know I've had to have seen the series before, but what I actually remember right now, my godbrother was super into Sailor Moon. He would write stories about the characters. It was his thing. So, like, when DBZ and stuff like that was really popular, he was like, "No, it's Sailor Moon, it's Sailor Moon." And what I'm vividly remembering, because I don't necessarily remember episodes as my first memory, what I'm remembering is that we played a Sailor Moon side-scroller on his PC. He would have downloaded it, all of it in Japanese, and I was like, yeah, that's really what it is. That's what because I don't think I would have experienced Sailor Moon unless if it wasn't for my godbrother really falling in love with that series. And yeah, I'd watch the show afterwards, but my memory is so tied to him and us playing that video game.
I did not know that at all. That's so cool. And so was this? So I'll tell people, for people listening, I know way more about the Wolves than that's example A. About so is this when you were in Japan, or is this before or after?
So this would have been the second time I was back in Jamaica. So I'm originally from Jamaica, and so this is peak Toonami years, and it would have been early Toonami years, probably like 2001, 2002, 2003, somewhere around that time.
Gotcha. Cool. Okay, so I guess I have two questions. So, like, how did you feel when you're watching your godbrother play the game, and then how did you feel for the first time you watched the anime?
Watching him play the game and playing the game with him was fun. I remember being like, why do you like this more than everything else? Because that was always it. It was like, you love this thing so deeply, and I don't necessarily understand why when I watched it. It was like, this is cool, but I'm not... when I first watched it, I was like, this is kind of neat. This is solid. I didn't feel any way, except for kind of falling as one of my first anime crushes was Ami. So that is what I remember standing out when I first watched Sailor Moon after, like, playing the game with him and kind of getting to see why he liked that series at that time. Love
it. That makes a lot of sense. Does he still like it?
Yeah, he is the first person to try to get me to watch Crystal. He was a Sailor Moon head before I met the other Sailor Moon folk.
Oh. So, and I gotta shake his hand one day.
You do. You really do.
So since you've watched it, do you have any favorite episodes or favorite moments?
So I think right now, because I was so Ami attached, watching the episode when she was getting ready to leave, and the Sailor Scouts being able to, like, make decisions that were like, well, Ami, if this is what you really want, and, like, really, like, the more and more I look back at that, it's like, these are a set of people that really love each other, and they're willing to consistently, as a group, make decisions for each other. And I think about that episode a ton, I think so much about the entire arc with Zoisite and his manipulation of Molly, and I just think that's one of just like the best, coolest anime storytelling period. So I think those are two of like this is the stuff that makes it stand out immediately.
Yeah, no, that's one of my favorite episodes too. Like, get the song. I think it's Only a Memory Away, and like, it's so good. And then also like, yeah, like you said, like they're really like show like even though they're like this unit and they've created this sort of I don't want to say like responsibilities and roles, and like they're a team now. And it's like for them to be like, you know what, like you got to follow your dreams. Like we'll figure this out. I think it's so powerful.
Yeah, and I remember watching the episode. I'm like, at least y'all, like, because I think I remember complaining to you at times when I first started rewatching it. I was like, man, Usagi's kind of mean to Ami. I kind of don't like this right now. And I remember rewatching it and I was like, Ami doesn't really get to have a lot that I remembered from my watching her in my childhood. But it's like watching this episode, they gave her a sense of like, no, she means something to everybody. And I think often her role gets a little bit shirked now rewatching it with like older eyes. Because I honestly do think the other ones get better character development. But when I rewatching it, I keep looking for Ami moments, because I'm even thinking about the time that the young boy has a crush on her as well. Mm-hmm. Like Greg. I love, yeah, that episode. That episode stands out for me too. But I think it's that going away episode where I feel like really they were able to cement what she means to everybody, and I think that's a very effective for me.
Yeah, and also Nephrite and Molly, super, super, super love it. It's one of my favorites too. The chocolate parfait will always make me want to cry.
always.
Yeah. You think you kind of said it, but I think it's kind of changed over time. But who's your favorite Sailor Senshi / Scout?
So it was Ami, right? Like rewatching it, my mind has always been focused on her. That's who I liked, but as I've rewatched it over the few years, my favorite person is Sailor Jupiter. I think when I watched what they did with her, I was like, oh, this is the most three-dimensional character in the series. And I could be wrong, because I know that the Pluto and Neptune, those become beloved characters. But when I look at what they did with her, where she's this tomboy character, but she wants to like appear lighter to other people, appear soft, and that kind of like straddling between the line about like self-presentation. And obviously I can think for a lot of women who I know who perceived as like this super tough person, it's like they just want to be feminine, and like I feel like she has so much, and they give her a lot, and I think so. It's like my favorite is her, but if you ask me like my nostalgia favorite, it's Ami.
Yeah, no, that's totally understandable. And I'm just small corrections. So like Neptune and Uranus are the couple, but all good. We're not gatekeepers over here. But yeah, no, Sailor Jupiter. I think you're right in that she gets, outside of Usagi, like the most character development in some ways. And like you definitely like she just like feels like the most like complete character, in that she's like has this not conflicting but like internal like, oh, I'm tall and I like, you know, people see me as tough, but I also really, you know, I love to cook and I'm like this sweet person, and she's just an all around good character. Like she's actually in one of my most recent rewatches, she's become a favorite of mine, so you'll be happy to hear that as well. But I want to talk about you a little bit. You are a beat maker.
Yes.
How did you get into beat making?
So my beat making story starts from undergrad in essentially WCCR, which is the radio station at City College of New York, which is actually where you and I have met. And during that time, I ended up connecting with some musicians there, but I I never thought I'd be making music. Like, I've always aspired for it in the sense of like, oh, I want to be like this and that. But I was like, oh, I don't got the skill set. I don't have that. But I got really encouragement from a couple of friends. One of my friends, my friend Darian gave me his MPC 500 as like, go make something, because he believed in me. And that was my first step. I ended up not making anything good at that time. It wasn't until my master's, when I moved away and I was on my own and I was struggling through my master's thesis, that I needed some kind of personal outlet to deal with my stress of writing. And I thought I'd go back to trying to make music. So I ended up finding software on my iPad and starting to make beats there. And that's, I think, around 2014 is the time where I said, like, let me figure this out, because I need some way to navigate my feelings and emotions.
I like that origin story. And then now I want to say this is your third beat tape.
Yes, this is the third beat tape.
Yeah. How did this one come about? I really like the story about this. I did read your Instagram post, but yeah, incomplete instructions for anyone who's listening. It's coming out on the 9th?
April 9th, yes.
But yeah, how did that come about?
So incomplete instructions was last year in the middle of quarantine. I finally got to pick up the hobby of like Gundam building, which is Gunpla stuff. And there's a moment when I noticed it in general when I first started making it, where it's like what you make is not necessarily what you see on the box, right? Like when I'd watch reviews, it'd be like, oh, well, they did this paint over here, or if you want to make it look like the box, you're going to have to put molds over the seams. And it was this kind of feeling like, what I'm making is not necessarily on the box. I loved it regardless. It didn't bother me. But what I thought about it for me personally was this feeling of, what am I kind of creating for myself, right? Like I have these ideas about like who I want to be and all these other things, but I'm not necessarily executing them. And for me, one of the things was like this feeling of like about my masculinity. There are these people that I was like, I want to be like, I want to do that, but it's like those archetypes of those versions of masculinity is like, if I'm trying to live those out and so forth, I can't do that, because A, that's not me, but it's like whatever I'm creating in myself, like it's gonna carry my flaws. It's gonna carry that time where, just like when you build a gunpla, it's like that time I accidentally overshot and like took out a part of his finger with the stencil knife, or that I got too quick and there's a whole stain on the back of it. Like, and I started noticing that for me, it was this idea of like trying to just be comfortable with just like who I really am and just create myself without this like fear of like, I'm not matching the box, I'm not matching the image. And all of those kind of ideas were coming together for myself.
I love that, because I actually like used to follow a lot of like people on Instagram who I like aspire to be like, or aspire to, want to be, or but then I realized it was just kind of like making me compare myself all the time, and just making me feel really bad about myself. So I went through like, I think a few years ago I just unfollowed all of them and like have felt better. Aside from like my own personal like, oh, why am I not better? So I really like that idea, because I never thought of that, because even when like I'm putting together furniture, like it's still like some extra parts, there's like things that are missing, and it's just like this is not right. What you advertised.
It's not like, you're right. Like one of the comparisons I've made was like that IKEA thing is like, oh, I'm going to build this chair, and this chair is going to like really be where I sit down and do my work and look at the box. And you're like, yes, I got it. I mean, you build it. I'm like, I mean, it is it, right? But it's not really it. Like there's something off.
Right. It's like, where's the magic?
Where is the magic? Where is what I was imagining in my head?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think it's that kind of like that comparison is so scary, because it feels like sometimes you don't live up to it, and it's like that. I feel like for me that's been one of just like a general underlying fear that I've been trying to navigate, of just like, I'm used to being on the outside of things. I'm used for a lot of that, but I'm not. I feel like at times I don't think I've always trusted it, but it would work out. I trusted it because that's all I could be, but I didn't trust that I was enough as I am. If that makes sense.
It makes all the sense, and I feel the same way. I'm wondering though, so like this is a beat tape, so like there's no one like rapping or there's no words necessarily. So how did you like approach the project and like conveying this feeling and this what's that word, like idea through music?
Oh, so my mind. One of the things I kept on saying about this tape is that since it's so much about like building, I was like, what does the soundtrack to building even sound like or feel like? And so I love sampling music. That's the way I like to make hip hop. And so for me, it was thinking about like, where do I want to dig for these samples? And one of the spaces that I wanted to dig through was a lot of the actual the PC sims from like the 90s, because there's an entire like there's something warm about those synths, unlike the what I think is like the X8600 or PC88. Like those like the dating sims from that era, but even like the non-dating sims, like those games on those PCs, like they have this sense of warmth, this kind of futuristic thing. It's a lot of texture in those sounds. So that's where I first started like trying to dig through samples and figure out of like, this is what I think building and like the soundtrack to building would feel like. So it's wanting to like go into like the gaming stuff and stuff like that I've always loved, but I think it's a different part of that. That's where I started. But the other stuff has been I've mentioned is I do a lot of vocal samples. So even at that time, I was like, ooh, I'm listening to this person talk about navigating this space, or this person talk about navigating the space. So like there is a line from Bell Hooks in one of our interviews, or there's a line from ContraPoints, or there's a line from the Gundam stuff I was obviously watching at the time, because I think that's another part of beat making I always passionate about, where the vocal samples can tell you what to feel or like hint at what to like think about while being immersed in the soundscape.
Yeah, that's so true, because even when I listen to like lo-fi stuff, they have like those random samples. It always just gives me this feeling of nostalgia. Yes. I don't know why, but yeah, I can totally get that. And were you saying like synths before, like synths?
Yes.
Okay. At first, I thought you said Sims, like Sim City.
Oh.
And I was like, this is interesting because like you're also like building cities. And I was just like, this still works. But
I wish I could say I was that clever. So, but it is dating simulator sims that I was referring to earlier, but it's synths from those soundtracks of Sims. I guess that's a lot of tongue tying right there. I didn't realize.
Okay, so I'm not completely out of my mind. All right. The dating simulators, but synths from dating simulators. Okay. But not SimCity or The Sims.
No.
Okay.
I know how ridiculous that sounds.
I'm just trying to clarify. So thank you. Okay. Well, yeah. I don't know, this might be hard, but do you have a favorite song? Or a song that you're most proud of? I'll say that.
Fresh Runners. Fresh Runners is a song that I'm most proud of. It's the one I just previewed this week. I don't even know time anymore. I previewed the most recently on Instagram, and it's the one I'm most proud of. It's the one that when I've given people early listens, it's the one where like, yeah, that's the one that everyone messages me about.
I really liked that preview I heard. I listened to it and I was just like, whoa, you've stepped it up. I mean, everything. I've liked your previous beat tapes too, but like this one, I definitely can see like why you'd be most proud of it. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Also, like, time doesn't exist anymore.
It does not. It's a Blur's day every day.
Indeed. Blur's day. So here's my surprise question. I told you there were going to be a surprise question. before we started.
All right.
So, as a throwback to our Nerds on Hip Hop podcast, what's one nerdy thing you're doing right now? One hip hop thing you're listening to?
Oh, wow. Okay. So, one nerdy thing I'm doing right now is because I'm practicing a lot of avoidance of dissertation writing, I've been playing a lot of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and I'm falling in love with it all over again, and I've not beaten it yet, but I've done way more in the last week. But I probably have done it the last 2 years, it feels like.
Avoidance and procrastination are some strong motivators for video games.
Oh boy, it sure is. So that's been my nerdy thing. I think, honestly, music-wise or hip-hop-wise, I was just listening to this morning, Aloha Mahalo by CJ the Genesis again. And it's weird because I remember the first time I told you about the project, because I remember I was trying to pitch you on the project of like, oh, you gotta listen to it. It's like a cherry Coke.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Like, that's always stuck with me. I don't know why. But it was like a cherry Coke.
Yeah, it's that weird, that like, I don't even know what the feeling of a cherry Coke is, but that's what it is. It's that in a song.
Yeah.
But I was listening today, and I had a lot of flashbacks of what I didn't understand about the project then versus how I understand the project now, where there's so much about like dreaming about the future and dreaming of what would come and what would be, and particularly this feeling of what is true satisfaction is the fulfillment of those dreams. And I because the whole tape is about like going into paradise and things of that nature, but it's like that's what paradise is. It's like feeling like you've done what you've wanted to do. I was like, oh man, why do I only recognize this properly now that I'm 30?
You know, I saw on Twitter the other day that someone was like, oh, in The Hobbit, you're a child, considered a child, or until you reach 30. And they're like, oh, that's so, like, when you're a kid, you're like, oh, wow, that's so cool that they do things differently. And now that I'm, like, about to be 30, it's like, oh, no, it makes sense. I am still a child, actually. Like, 30's probably when I become a proper adult. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe 35. Yeah. So I get it. That's cool. Nice. I feel like that's one of the first projects we talked about on our podcast, too, maybe? Maybe not?
I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know.
It's very possible. We might, you and me both. Yeah,
I feel like my memory and my back are the only ways I know how old I am.
Trust me. The minute I turned 30, I felt back pain that same night. I was like, "Oh, okay, I see what the future is."
Yep. Not looking forward to it. Oh, now here's a fun question. Well, actually, no, ask this first. What other anime do you like?
So I feel like I'll always find an excuse to talk about this. Princess Tutu.
I thought we were going with Tatami Galaxy.
Oh, I mean, Tatami Galaxy changed my life, so I guess I'll do that one first. Tatami Galaxy changed my life. I'll recommend everybody who's between the ages of like 17 to like 24, you drop whatever you're watching and watch Tatami Galaxy. It'll give you perspective, especially if you're feeling like a sense of malaise. When I watched Tatami Galaxy, I was in like, I don't know about how I feel about my life. I don't know how I feel about the decisions I made. And there was just some really meaningful perspective that I was like, oh, this is what I needed. And I vividly remember sharing that with another friend of mine. It was the same kind of takeaway. So I would always recommend that. So I guess that's my favorite anime ever.
Princess Tutu, give us your spiel.
It is the greatest magical girl show of all time.
First of all, how dare you?
So I also bring that up because there's something else I want to highlight, because I said something at the beginning of the podcast, and I do want to get back to my points about what I've come to appreciate more about Sailor Moon, but I think it only exists now, especially because now I appreciate Princess Tutu as the greatest ever. Princess Tutu has a sense of dread, a sense of like fantastical storytelling, a sense of humor and just about like the state of destiny and choices. And Duck is just so adorable.
Duck is really cute. I love Duck.
Yeah, and so it's like I think it's a story that takes a lot of what I think is great about magical girl shows, which is a lot about like the emotionality becoming almost more in touch with your humanity to a certain extent, right? Like a lot of the monsters show up in like these magical girl shows as like a threaten your humanity or threaten elements of like who you are, or prey on like the worst aspects of humanity. And I feel like the especially opening arc of Princess Tutu deals with that in terms of like restoring Muto and stuff like that. But yeah, I love that. Those are two where I'm just like I could talk about those for days.
Yeah. So how do you tie it back to Sailor Moon?
So the statement I remember years ago when I was asking you, because I think we had watched Madoka together. Mm-hmm. I think that, and I was asking you, it's like, what do you think of Madoka? Did this work for you? Why did it not? And the thing that you said about Sailor Moon, but I've just realized to just be too true now. It's that Sailor Moon is so much more about the relationships of the five, right? Like, right. When I think about all the other magical girl shows I've grown to like explore and appreciate, right? Like I love Revolution Girl Utena. I'll talk about Mawaru Penguin Show, Revue Starlight. Revue Starlight is probably the only one I'd say like kind of gets a little bit at that, but it's like no, Sailor Moon is really about the lived experiences of the young girls together. It just also so happens that those personalities bleed out into them having superpowers and I think now when I go back to that show, it's a lot more sincere. Like, this is a weird comparison, but I was really thinking about it the other day. I was like, Sailor Moon is like My Hero Academia in terms of like when you watch it, you just kind of feel good.
You know, I completely agree, and that's one of the reasons why I love My Hero Academia. When I first watched it, I remember saying, I think to somebody somewhere, that like it reminded me of Sailor Moon just for like that it has that same feeling like you just said, and same thing with Gurren Lagann. Yes. It just like you said, just makes you feel good. I think that's what it is. Yeah,
it makes you feel good, and I think it's just sincere about what it's trying to do. Like there's a cheesy sense of hope that people can do in series. There's a cheesy sense of hope, but it's like it's not that. It strips all the artifice. It's like no, we're just gonna be hopeful and just kind. And really that permeates the show in a way where I'm like, oh, I get why this is the one. Like I understand that more and more of like the other shows I can appreciate more. I think there's unique things that I appreciate more, but when I think about like why Sailor Moon stands out, I'm like, it almost is a one of one. Like even now, there are other series that does it, but you're gonna enjoy this part so much because I've argued against this point. This is why I say I feel like you're gonna enjoy it. Sailor Moon has to be 200 episodes. It can't be less than that.
Go ahead.
You and I have argued this before. I remember saying it's like Sailor Moon has to be 50 episodes, and I think like as a condensed series, it'd be more focused. And I understand why I felt that, but it's like now when I look at what to appreciate about the show in terms of the girls living with each other, you can't do that in 50 episodes.
Man, I have the biggest smile on my face right now.
It's made. I've really looked at it in a very different sense since we've talked. When I've watched more other stuff, and I'm like, yeah, you can't find this anywhere else. You can't and as I said, I feel like the only series, but it's really short. I tell everyone to watch Revue Starlight. I think Revue Starlight is a wonderful show, but it's the only one where I'm like, okay, it is about the relationships of the characters having with one another. It's all these other things, but it's only 12 episodes, and it is also about passion. So that's kind of becomes a core focus about passion, performance, and stuff like that. So it's still not the lived experiences of 5 teenage young women. Like, and I was like, damn, Victoria's right.
It's about the team and the friendship. It's so important. You know, it's funny though. I have like, I love, let's say Sailor Moon is 200 episodes. I wish it was 500 episodes, but I have been enjoying my latest reread of the manga, and like in Crystal for that though, because they are able to tell the story at least in a more condensed way. But I think you're right, like you don't get those friendship beats, like you don't get those emotional beats on their friendship without it being stretched out and seeing them like spend time with each other for long periods of time.
Yeah, I think, because there are a lot of shows right now that are kind of like, oh, a couple of cute girls hanging out. Like, that's kind of like K-On!, Lucky Star was kind of like that, Azumanga Daioh. But it is a combo of the friendship and them still being these like hopeful superheroes, and like,
yeah. I think too, the thing that I like about it, like you said, it's, even though it's like cheesy, like love wins, and love, like, friendship over, power of friendship kind of stuff, like it makes you feel good. And it also is like, it's almost like kindness wins, maybe.
Yes.
And that feels good too, just to like not even see like the good guys win, but just see like kindness win.
It's charming.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that's something I did not appreciate until I was like rewatching a couple episodes recently. I'm like, oh, why do I like this? Why do I really like this? Like, not just like it, but it's like, this is heartwarming, and it's that sincerity. And as I say, I feel like only My Hero feels in the same vein, because people say like My Hero is too cheesy, or it's too light, or too this, but it's like, My Hero does a whole lot of other things, but it's like, Deku is such a nice person. Mm-hmm. And I think that sometimes in the storytelling that we want to experience as adults and so forth, it's like, sometimes being nice is something that we should appreciate more of. Like, morally great characters are great and so forth, but it's like, sometimes it's just good to be nice.
Yeah.
And I think that's...
No, go ahead.
Go ahead. And that's what I see with Sailor Moon. It's like, it's nice that all of these people are genuinely nice to one another. They win through that. They win through the bond of one another. And just like, we need that message more, honestly.
Yeah, I completely agree. I was going to add too, I feel like the way people look at All Might in My Hero is similar to how people look at Sailor Moon as like the symbol of hope. Yes. Like it's I think recently I kind of realized that like people have no faith in Usagi, but they have all the faith in Sailor Moon. It's so funny.
And maybe I'm just blinded by the episode I watched recently where you had the kindergartners and the kindergarten, and the girl was like, "Is it okay if I believe?" Yeah. And Venus is like, "Yes, it's okay to believe." And then obviously Usagi comes up and everyone's like, "Yeah, I'm glad that we believed in this paragon." And then that's literally also how the message that Sailor Venus had to learn was that not only is it important for them to believe, that she had to believe in herself to gain her new power. Like, it's just simple, charming, warm, heartwarming stuff.
It really is. It's so good.
And as you said, it's like, Usagi's a Sailor Moon is a real symbol. Like, and I think that's an underrated thing that I don't think we say a lot about in anime in general. That she's a powerful symbol.
She is. She totally is. For like love and justice. Yeah, I love it. Also, for the record, Sailor Moon is the greatest magical girl anime of all time. That is canon on this podcast.
Look, maybe you've already pushed me in this way of like really appreciating it a lot more. The more and more I think about it, if I say that in a few years, I wouldn't be surprised at this rate.
Yes. Yeah. No. I'm just happy you're here. Honestly, like, it's been a long time coming, and I'm very happy. Also, and I'll give you your kudos, because Princess Tutu was created by illustrator and animator Ikuko Ito, who was the worked on Sailor Moon. She was the animation director there. So there's someone who worked on Sailor Moon, worked on Princess Tutu. So in a way,
you get to say you fathered it. Okay.
Yeah. Basically saying Sailor Moon's the greatest anime of all time.
Okay. I mean, I'm gonna let you have that because I mean, my second favorite anime director owes his entire career to Sailor Moon, so I guess it's fair game.
Love it.
Yeah. Ikuhara is nothing without doing the third season of Sailor Moon. That is true.
Where would we be today?
Where would we be if not for Sailor Moon? Where would we be?
Honestly, like, yeah, I was really sad, but it was kind of true. Someone brought up that Sailor Moon is like the Ray J of anime, but like only because Ray J randomly is at like the crux of so many like historical moments. He just ran, and I was like, I hate that this is true. Sailor Moon's great, and Ray J is not, but
we gotta think of a better person who's at the intersection of everything. We can't lower.
Right?
I put maybe Timbaland, maybe?
Oh, I like that. He was there for many iconic eras. Right. He's still around now. He's doing, what is it, Versus?
Yeah.
Right, maybe.
Yeah. I feel a lot better comparing. I feel really bad. I don't want to put my negative energy on Ray J, but I'm not really gonna say a lot of positive things about him from a musical standpoint.
Or a personal standpoint.
I mean, yeah.
It's okay. This is insane. It's an anti-Ray J podcast. Sailor Moon Fan Club, aka the not Ray J fan club.
Okay.
Speaking of Ray J, let's see someone we do not stan. What is something else that you do stan? So we talked about like obviously hip hop, Sailor Moon, Princess Tutu, Tatami Galaxy, but like this could be like anything or anyone.
I mean, I stan Nintendo. Like I feel like that
works.
I think that is probably one of the most truthful things. The amount of random trailers I've sent you over the years that are just random links to Nintendo games that you have no context for is a lot.
But I accept them all and I watch them.
You have. I have to say I appreciate you being a trooper for when I sent you like Fire Emblem trailers.
I'm like, oh, Shovel Knight. Yeah, sure, let's check it out.
Yes, when Shovel Knight was oh my god. I can't. Oh gosh. Those were good times. I'm on the Pokemon trailers. But I got you. I mean, I did get you to play the game, so I will say that is a W.
And I love Pokemon. Like I played X since then, and now I'm thinking about playing. Or it was a Sapphire. I played one of them, and I'm thinking about playing the other one now, whichever one it was. I forget.
I'm excited. Do you think you'll go back as far as the DS games, like before?
I don't think so. One thing I realized playing one of the either Sapphire or X. I'm really sad I can't remember. I feel like it was X, but there were some things like I liked better in Moon, and I feel like it was because it was a more recent game. What was some things that I liked? I'm trying to remember. Well, first the music.
Then, the best music in the series.
So good. And I think like the story was better.
Yep.
And it's just it's just a lot. And I think the other one just didn't live up. So I'm really looking forward actually to playing Sword and Shield. But that game is pretty long, I think. And I'm like in this like 10 to 12 hour game zone right now.
That's the best place to be. Don't leave the zone.
That's where I am right now. I might throw in a 20-hour one every so often, but right now it's 10 to 12. And so I'm looking for games that fall into that category. But other than that, yeah, I love Pokemon now. So that's the thing you got me into.
Yeah, that is the one good thing I've done in this friendship.
You've done many good things. But that is one of them.
That is one. It is the one that you can put on my epitaph.
That is true.
Got Sailor Victoria into Pokemon.
Yes. I'll make sure they engrave it on your headstone.
I appreciate that.
No problem. So, and what would you say is your favorite piece of nerd merch that you own?
Oof.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, I feel like saying this is going to be ridiculous, but it's... Well, so there are two answers. One, the first thing that came to mind, because you said merch, is the Pokemon shirt you bought me.
Ooh, yay!
Yeah, I find ways to wear that all the time. Yeah, I think that's what, 2016?
Sounds right. I think it was from Uniqlo?
No, you got it.
H&M?
No, FYE.
Oh!
Man, we're dating ourselves. Who goes to FYE these days?
Wow. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, wow. It's really going back. I know exactly which one you're talking about now. I remember there was a collection that dropped with Uniqlo.
Yep. There's that.
I thought about getting you the shirt. Like, yeah, okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, so that's the first piece of merch where I'm like, yeah. I think the other piece of merch that I'm like, oh, I love this to death. I got a shirt of the anime Ocean Waves, which is now my favorite Ghibli movie. Ooh. It is a like cerulean shirt. This was from Hot Topic. They still sell a bunch of Ghibli shirts. In fact, there's like, I feel like anybody who's like really into Ghibli stuff really should go get, like, you can get, like, as I said, I got Ocean Waves, which people don't care about.
Yeah, it's not one of the more popular ones, but that's really cool. It's been on my list to watch for a while.
I adore the movie, but I also like very melodramatic, heart-to-heart stories that are about dealing with emotions. So I did, yeah. I'm sure everyone here loves Makoto. Not everyone here, but like everyone's probably seen like Your Name. I love Makoto Shinkai's films. I love his style of directing. Mm-hmm. You can watch this Ghibli film and be like, oh, this is where he learned everything, because it's very obvious that he learned a lot from this movie. I'm like, oh, okay, you just took that and then you like evolved it. But,
wow. Yeah. Oh man, now I'm thinking of Soulja Boy.
You took a whole style.
Bar by bars. Yeah, but I'm sure that's exactly how Hayao Miyazaki feels. Exactly, word for word. That is cool. I didn't know. I need to watch that movie. I've like been slacking on watching Ghibli movies that aren't Spirited Away or Howl's Moving Castle.
I can't blame you, because going to those is always a good choice.
It is, and I really need to get it. And then, yeah, I need to get on that, because he has other movies, and it's at like the library. I think. Shout out to the library. Yeah,
and I also don't know if you have HBO Max, because I've been just using I've been using my friend's account to catch up on all the Ghibli stuff I have not seen, because I was a very bad anime fan and I didn't see Spirited Away until last year.
Ooh, we have to talk about that later. I didn't realize you watched it. But yeah, I do have HBO and I forgot about that. So I'll just do that.
Yes. So that's my second favorite merch. I would have a third favorite, but I did not get they had a Gunpla shirt from Uniqlo, where it is the literal pieces on the plastic still, which is one of just my favorite cool looking things, and I did not get it on time. It was sold out.
Tears.
Very big tears.
Well, hopefully it comes back.
All fingers crossed.
Yeah. Indeed. So, fun game. If you had to match each of the Wu-Tang members with a Sailor Senshi, how would you do it?
Okay. I mean, the default one is, without hesitation, without question, Ami and the Jizza, they are studying together. Like that, I could see that where they sit down and talk about space and do all of that. Like, they are friends. They are friends.
Yeah, I see it. I feel it.
I think Usagi is actually the hardest one to think of who works for her. So
I want to... Oh, go ahead.
No, go for it.
I want to say Method Man only because they're like the most front-facing members.
There's that. So I'm gonna go with RZA is probably Sailor Venus. I think sometimes it feels like Venus is the most responsible asterisk. Like she has the appearance of having her shit together at times.
Yeah, at times. But yeah.
Right. So apparently having more of her stuff together than the rest of the century, and so like sometimes it feels like whether or not she's not the leader the actual way. Obviously, Usagi is the leader, but sometimes because she's the most responsible, there's that kind of like RZA comparison I can see of like I'm behind the scenes, like I'm not the face of the Wu-Tang, even though I am like some of the blood behind it, that kind of thing. Let's see. Ghostface is definitely Sailor Mars. For sure.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, I love where this is going to. I don't know if you're going to go where I think you're going, but go ahead. Sorry.
So I guess by default, if I'm going to say that, then I would definitely do Raekwon for Usagi because of it often feels like. I'm curious what you think. I do think of the 5, the 2 that are just like the most paired, or at least for Usagi, she most is tied to, I think, is Sailor Mars. I think like Ami, like she and Ami obviously have more episodes together and stuff like that, but I think there's something about the way that Mars and Usagi argue all the time, but it's like this, there's a friendly, almost like small rivalry there too, like there's something about that relationship where I'm like, it's when I think of the Wu-Tang Clan, if you think about the 2 people who have the closest relationship, it's Ray and Ghost. So that's that's the way I would reason that out.
That makes a lot of sense. So I thought where you were going is Sailor Jupiter as Raekwon because he's the chef.
Oh, that works a lot better.
No, I like yours because that makes a lot of sense with Mars and the Sailor Moon and their relationship with each other. It does work more for Ghostface and Raekwon.
Yeah.
So maybe Jupiter's
Maybe Jupiter's Method Man. Maybe.
Or ODB. I don't know. Maybe she's ODB. She's kind of tough.
I don't know if any of them are ODB. That would be. I don't know if anyone's that eccentric.
I don't think so, dear. I was trying to think. Even like Outer Senshi, I wouldn't say.
Yeah. I think I would actually put her as Method Man mainly because for many people felt like Method Man was going to be most likely the one that could hold their own as a solo star. That kind of happened, kind of didn't. Sort of like what I was saying earlier, where I feel like there's another universe where Jupiter is the main character of the series. I think.
I approve your headcanon. Yeah, I mean that's very likely.
Yeah, I would like to be in that universe. So if anyone knows how to get there, get me a front way ticket. I think that'd be a fun universe.
No comment. It's blasphemy, but no. I think thank you for taking my question seriously.
Of course,
I always throw these like silly questions out, and I'm like, yay, people answer them and take it seriously. I think that's really good. That makes a lot of sense, and like. Yeah, you really matched them up well in ways that I didn't even think of. So, awesome job.
I'm glad. That was a hard one. That was way more difficult than I thought it was.
I mean, it was like 2 random groups of people or characters and rappers, so yeah. So, back to you. What is some advice you'd have for someone who wants to become a beatmaker or wants to be a beatmaker?
I think the first thing I'd just say is like experiment with whatever technology you have. Literally, almost any piece of device that you own, if you own a device, is a place to you to just play around. One of the things that was able to make me make beats again was this freedom of I just wanted to express and try something. There was no necessary like, oh, I gotta make this for anybody, or I gotta do, it's like, I just want to express how I'm feeling or whatever it is, and it's like, so I used, what is it called on the iPad? IMPC Pro. The app is like $20. But for most people on their phones, because I think even on Androids too, you can download this app called Koala, which is essentially emulating an SP404. So it literally, for like about $6, you can download software on your phone and literally just like play around and just learn the interface and figure out how to like how would you express yourself in that space, because every software you use, every hardware you use, it's different workflows, it's different that, but it's like the thing I always want people to do is like, don't get intimidated by like, I need this, I need that. It's like, start exactly where you are, and then as you figure out, oh, I like this element of it, or I don't like this element, like someone might be like, I need physical pads, but then now you know that, and then you'll probably buy a machine or actual physical MPC, or I need like something with my mouse and so forth, and you're like, okay, buy Logic or buy like, but it's like, always just start with where you are and just really make the stuff you want to make. It is very easy as like a creative to be like, oh, this is what the people want, or this is like, and that stuff is cool, but I always, everyone has their own style, their own tastes, their own thing that they're pursuing, and it's like, really just go out and make the stuff that makes you really passionate.
Yeah, I like that, and I love too, because I think a lot of people think like, oh, I need like this specific like super high tech thing, or like this product or this thing that everyone's using, but like that, you're like, no, there's an app you can use on your phone, and just to get started at least.
Yeah.
Or make amazing things. People are doing beats on their phones now.
Yeah,
I mean, iPads.
My first the opening beat on my beat tables, I literally made in bed because I was feeling stressed and I couldn't get out of bed. Like,
nice. So, sounds like me. Yeah.
So that's a, just start with whatever's easiest access for you and just explore, and don't worry about like if it sounds good or not yet. Just try, and over time you get better. I remember so much time of like, oh my gosh, this is the worst thing on planet Earth. But it's like, if it's the worst thing on planet Earth, at least you've put something there that you can like improve on, and like, yeah.
There was like, man, I'm forgetting it now, but there's a song. I'll try to link to it below. But it's like basically something like you have to suck at something first in order to be good at it. Yes. But she does it in song form, and it's really good and catchy.
And it's true, and I feel like there's freedom in not feeling like you have to have it together. I feel like that's when you try the most things. That's when you feel the most experimental, and
yeah, that's like me right now. I'm trying to like write fiction, and every time I go to write, I have to tell myself like, you're bad at this. It's okay. You'll get better.
You'll get better, and you'll figure out some of the stuff that you eventually want to do in different ways too.
Right, that too. That is absolutely true, because you have like all the freedom in the world, and you're not restricted by like what you should be doing or like whatever.
Yes. Yeah, without like going back to like the theme of the tape, but it's like, just make you like not. Yeah. Yes.
I like it. Make you. Speaking of that, then that could be it, I guess. So just like Sailor Moon had the Sailor Moon says phrase at the end of every episode, what would your phrase be? So Sailor TheWolvesDen says.
Sailor TheWolvesDen says, make who you are.
I love that. I want that on a shirt. Make who you are.
Yes.
Sounds like a Nike slogan.
Oh man, that's hilarious. It reminds me of a shirt that I did buy from a Gundam t-shirt maker. It had like, just build it. So yeah.
Ooh, I did see that shirt. Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, when you said that, I was like, oh yeah, there is the guy who did that.
Make who you are. Full circle. I love it. And then what's next for you, and where can people find you?
So I guess what's next for me is the release date of Incomplete Instructions, which will be on Bandcamp /TheWolvesDen25. But you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at TheWolvesDen25, and you'll find me procrastinating, probably posting pictures of Breath of the Wild again, because I don't want to write my dissertation or I'm too stressed to.
You know, it's just part of the process at this point, and that's okay.
Yes.
I mean, part of your dissertation's on video games, I think.
Yeah, there's that too. I realize there's a whole part of my life that I don't talk about. But yeah, there's that too.
Yeah, you're researching.
I like the way you think.
I have a very dangerous way of thinking, but yeah, it works half the time.
You know, this is why you are Usagi, for real. Like, that is... That's exactly what you would tell anybody.
That's what I tell Ami, yeah. Well, this has been so much fun, as always.
This has been fun. It was good. It was good to talk to you about the greatness that is Sailor Moon and everything else in between.
I'm so happy this is being recorded. Yeah. You guys don't know. This is not where we started off in our friendship, but
you could go back to the Nerds and Hip Hop podcast when we watched. What movie did we watch?
I think we watched Promise of a Rose.
Yeah, I don't know if I was that kind to Sailor Moon at that point in time. This is a long time coming.
Very much so. So yeah, if you guys want to hear the Wolves Den's beginning journey with Sailor Moon and his feelings and this, I guess, close in journey emotions, you can listen to our previous episode on Nerds on Hip Hop, and then you can come back here and listen to this, or, you know. Yeah,
I guess this is a glow up.
Yes.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate this.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. I was so hyped for your beat tape, and I was just like, you know what? It's time. But once again, I am Victoria L. Johnson, and you can find me at Miss Old School on Twitter and Instagram, and you can find the podcast at Moonies Club on Twitter and Moonies_club on Instagram. And if you want to get some merch, we have some merch at mooniesclub.com. And that's it. Thanks for listening, Moonies.